We are live at Joyful Gathering Spiritual Center in Collingswood, New Jersey. So today's topic is living without fear. And maybe, just maybe, we should call that learning how to live with fear, since that is a part of our makeup. Not our real makeup, but we'll get into that today. We're going to delve into this fear feeling, because it's an emotion, by accepting and working our way through that emotion that is affecting many of us on so many levels. And especially, I don't know if it's always been, but today feels like stuff is in our face. Everywhere we look, there's a different situation. And in California, last night, we get blessings. I think it was Monterey, very briefly. Did I see that? Yes. And souls have left us again in another act of violence. So that fear is penetrating us, and we need to learn how to not embrace it, but how to work through it and live our lives in freedom from that fear. At the same time that we're feeling it, we can know that there is a divine safety, always there, our protection, that is always within each and every one of us. And we know that what we resist will persist if we keep pushing, if we keep stuffing. So we just let it be, as the song just said, let it be. We let it be, but we don't stay there. I'm going to refer to a book written by Dr. Ernest Holmes that is entitled Living with Fear. In it, he wrote, and although I really, oh no, he didn't write this, but I'm saying this, although I don't really particularly care for the title of the book, it's one that grabs us, because we all have, like I said before, that emotion of fear every once in a while pop up in our lives. So I don't really think it's possible to live completely without fear, even just a little fear once in a while. It's hardwired for that. So many things are coming up that we really can feel like we're in the unknown many times. And that's the joy of this teaching, is to know that we're connected to a power that will always be there for us, no matter what is taking place on this human realm, because there's always something taking place, either in our lives, everything, we're all one, we're all unified, so it's all part of the race consciousness, which is the human consciousness. So, what is, I don't have a reading from him yet. So what is fear really? Let's define that. And it's something that's in our makeup, because whenever we perceive a threat or something that is not going our way in our life, we are hardwired for, in our DNA, for fear. It's the fight or flight response. So we are absolutely hardwired for it. I remember the first time I heard that we are hardwired to feel anxiety, and that was from Dr. Martha Creek many, many years ago when she was speaking in person. And I was like, really? I'm not the only one that has anxiety? No. That was like such a relief. It was like I could breathe, because we are all hardwired for the fight or flight syndrome that was in our very being, our human being. Let's define that. So here's a definition of fear, particularly appropriate for those of us who are on the spiritual and personal journey of spirituality. Many of us, in fact, we wouldn't be in this room if we weren't into that growth, like really connecting and knowing who we are and whose we are. And we're with all like-minded people. And so fear is the ego's response to bumping up against the edge of what we know that is familiar. We get to a certain, and this is all good, until we hit that one point where we don't know. When we think we don't know. We don't know. We don't know anything. I say that all the time because we really don't know. We think we know because it feels familiar. But when we bump up against the edge of what we know, that's where the big changes take place. That's where the fear really kicks in, because we really are in what we call the unknown. And it might be terrifying. It's pretty scary, because the unknown might be a place that's not safe. That's what we think. That is one of the main reasons that I have repeated many times, and I remind myself often, to stay in the moment. When my mind, because our minds, they love to make up all these stories, and it goes into, and they're usually in the future. I don't hang out in the past much, but I have to constantly pull myself back, and I'm sure many of you do, to the right here, in this now moment. All is well. The universe always supports me. I'm always taken care of right now. Not in 10 years from now, not in a day from now, but right now. This is one of the tools that we use to cope with that feeling of fear of what doesn't feel familiar, because it's not familiar. We're not there yet. That'll take care of itself. So really living in the now is so, so important. Whenever we are contemplating moving out of our comfort zones, in other words, moving into what we don't know, we might feel the fear. And it's one of the reasons to develop a really deep relationship with the infinite power that resides within you. Because we're not just humans here. Like we say, we're spiritual beings having this human experience, which means that ultimately we are spiritual beings, and nothing can harm that. Just knowing that is so reassuring, I feel. Just so reassuring that this too shall pass. All circumstances do pass, but that indwelling, loving energy is the truth of who I am. It never leaves any of us. It is always present. And that's what we turn to. So we have to cultivate. We cultivate that relationship. And we do this through prayer, through meditation, through just taking that breath and connecting. Taking that breath and connecting. We can also feel fear when the subconscious beliefs, because we all have them, are triggered. And before a second has passed, boom, we could be in a complete state of anxiety, terror, all the things that fear brings into our lives, that confusion, where we can't even have a straight thought because there's so much confusion going on. And that is always triggered by anxiety or fear. And so the question really isn't, can we live without fear? But rather, are we going to let fear paralyze us into stagnation? Because if we buy into the fear and think it's really real, this is it, this is really real, it's not really real, but we think it's really real. Of course, the miracle's very big on that, very big, fear or love. Or are we going to spiritually move through it? Are we going to move through it in spite of that emotion being present? And that's a pretty powerful question. It really is. It really is. So to introduce our look at the proper use of the potentialities of the mind to live without fear, or more accurately, to not let fear paralyze us, then right now we're going to do a brief mental exercise, one that I've done before, but one that it's so perfect when you speak about this topic of fear. So I invite you to just close your eyes and imagine that you are sleeping. You're sound asleep. you begin to dream. In the dream, you are being chased by a ferocious grizzly bear. Even though you are running at top speed, he is gaining on you. Suddenly you fall and you realize that you hurt your leg. You struggle to get up, but you can't. And the bear is now practically on top of you. To make matters worse, a den of lions has heard the ruckus and is now coming at you from the other direction. And above you circles a flock of hangry vultures. Oh my gosh, oh my God. What are you going to do to save yourself? This is a terrifying situation. Your heart is racing and you can hardly breathe. What are you going to do? And it's really pretty simple. All you need to do to save yourself is to wake up. It's only a dream. You wake up. That's like our lives. You can come out of, you can open your eyes. we don't want to stay there. But it's only a dream. Things feel very real, and they are. You know, we are having, as we say, this human experience, so of course we're going to go through all of these emotions, but it's okay. Because when we deepen into that relationship with that infinite power for good, as the reading said, we are guided and we are guarded. It's just such a powerful belief to get into. That's why I love the spirituality, because it's something we can really use in life to live a life. Whether it's true or not, I have no idea. I'm still here on the human experience. If I can come back and let you all know when I leave this body, I will. But you know what? It gets us through life in a much more peaceful manner, in a much more joyous way, that we can absolutely live this life and go through all of the myriad of experiences we go through, but at the same time, we can do it knowing that there's a powerful good within us that is always protecting us and operating through us. So in order to feel the fear personally and spiritually and grow anyway, our human mind must awaken to that. And of course that begs another question. Awaken to what? What are we awakening to? Ernest Holmes now writes in Living the Science of Mind, the quickest and most effective method to get rid of fear is to get quiet and lift up the whole thought in confidence and faith to something bigger than we are. It is like going from an old dark room into the sunshine and just sitting there, letting the rays of the sun penetrate the whole being with warmth and color until the darkness and the dampness are gone. Our minds must awaken to this truth. Our whole entire belief system must align with this truth. That there is something bigger than we are, something so much bigger, and it's available to us. It's always available to us to use in any way. This magnificent power of this loving force of energy that we call God, the great I am, this power is all ready, waiting to support and guide us. When we have to waken up to this awareness that this is present within us, always, always, and develop that belief. We're changing beliefs that might have been going on before into a new belief, a new way of thinking. That is, I just know it's so exciting, it's so powerful, and it never gets old. It just never gets old. The truth is always new. It's always new. It's been going on forever, but it's always new. And Holmes tells us then to awaken our minds to it through prayer. That's what he is saying when he says to lift the whole thought in confidence and faith. Confidence and faith. Knowing there's a power for good and that good is working in and through and as me in this moment and in every moment. That's the faith. That's the knowing. It says to awaken our minds to it through meditation. And that is what he means when he says, sit there and let the rays of the sun penetrate the whole being with its warmth and color until the darkness and the dampness are gone. Awaken and remember. We are spiritual beings made out of the light of divinity. And that light, that is the truth of who we really are. That is the part of us that it continues. When we leave these forms, continues, it's eternal. And it's so powerful, and so much more powerful than any darkness that could ever exist. The light will always cast out the darkness. And this is where the deep conviction of faith in the oneness of life will guide us, always guide us. It always guides us when we let go. When we let go. We must believe that this is the essence of who we truly are. Our eternal divine selves are expressions of this one light, created out of it. And we have been created by this loving God, a God for good, a God for good. Emma Curtis Hopkins talks about, she interchanges God and good. To her, God, good. She can say good is mine, God is mine. It's interchangeable because it is a harmonious energy that we're speaking. So through affirmative prayer, which was done for us earlier today, and the spiritual practice of meditation, we will develop and recognize that the love is at the core of our being. That truly is when we are at peace, when we are in harmony with ourselves, is when we let go of all of the stuff, the circumstances, the fears, the doubts, the confusion, and we just briefly, that's why I love the breath, just breathe that in, that there is a brilliance at the core of my being. It's always there, but I must, and we must, awaken to it. Holmes writes about this in Living the Science of Mind, and he states, to understand that love overcomes both hate and fear is one of the chief requisites of a scientific mental practitioner. Love does not overcome hate and fear by argument or force, but by some subtle power, he says, of transformation, transmutation, and sublimation, invisible in its essence, but apparent through its act. And he continues, as light overcomes the darkness, as the presence of heat causes the atmosphere in the room to change until it is warm and comfortable, so the radiant presence of love and peace dissipates fear, hate, and confusion. Love is the victor in every case. Every case. I'm reading Holmes. Love breaks down the iron bars of thought, shatters the walls of material belief, severs the chain of bondage which thought has imposed, and sets the captive free. That's what love does. You want to live in freedom? We got to let go of all that stuff. Just come to peace with the resentments. Come to peace which is right, isn't right. We have to come to peace with it. That's the only way that love can run in our lives. And I think we all desire to live a life in a state of freedom. Yes, we will have times of fear in our experiences. The strong point being made here is to recognize and feel the fear and then move forward through it. Not to let that fear block our pathway, block us, keeping us from expressing ourselves and claiming our desires. It just keeps us stagnant and stuck in that bondage. Freedom allows us, love is a freedom that allows us to move through that. So my friends, please turn the news off if it really upsets you. I know people get up and they put that right on, and then they leave it on, and then they wonder why they're feeling so depressed, so upset. You know, whatever, if you can sit with it, fine. But whatever it takes to be in a place of peace within ourselves, that is so important. It is so needed, not only for us, but others in the world who are unable, because they don't know to waken up to what? They say to what? To that indwelling love that's within all of us. Let go of the relationships that feel toxic, that wear you down, that bring your energy down. Deepen into, first of all, surround yourself with uplifting people. That's why I come here every Sunday. I love to be with uplifting people. I mean, it just, everything else can sit at the doorstep, because right now I'm in a place of love, and that's where I want to live my life from as much as I can. And then gratitude. There are times where I wake up and I'm like, I don't know why, maybe my dreaming state wasn't really what I wanted it to be, and I'm like, oh, all this stuff. I go to gratitude. That is one of the highest vibrations there is. Gratitude. Wait a minute. I'm so grateful that I have the shower to stand under, that I have this warm water, that I have these beautiful, whatever it is, that gratitude always, without fail, will shift. It'll shift all of us into a higher vibration where energy beings, we vibrate. We're energy beings. And so we want our vibration to be at a higher level. Sometimes we have to use these tools. And then, Ralph Waldo Emerson, I really like these words, said, "It is high counsel that I once heard given to a young person. Always do what you are afraid of." Why? Why would I do that? Because we know that when we face a fear, when we know that when we look it square in the face, do what we are afraid to do and wind up on the other side of that, that's where the expansive life is. That's where the freedom and the peace lie. Because once we move into that, we get that confidence. We get a new sense of being. We expand. And when we expand, we are living the nature of the divine. That's what we're doing. In The Biology of Belief, Bruce Lipton writes, "Examine how your fears and the ensuing protection behaviors impact your life. What fears are stunting your growth," he says. "Where did they come from? Are they necessary in your life today? Are they real? Are they real today?" And he continues, Are they contributing to a full life? If we can control our fears, we can regain control over our lives. Franklin, and this is still Emerson, Franklin D. Roosevelt knew the destructive fear of nature when he chose his words carefully. And he told the nation in the grips of the Great Depression and a looming world war, there's a lot of fear going on then, we have nothing to fear but fear itself. That is so true. I think Eleanor Roosevelt really prompted that one. If you ever watch or read about her, she was the woman behind the man. She was powerful. I love her.
It's probably her fear.
So I want you to give some thought right now So I'm going to ask you again to close your eyes, if you will. For a moment, I want you to give some thought. I'm sure that everyone has something right now that they are being called to do. A higher way of being, called to express, and yet fear has stopped us. Fear of rejection, if it doesn't work out. Fear of the unknown. Fear of failure. Fear of success. Fear of being alone. Any kind of fear about anything or anyone. Get a picture in your mind of what this looks like. And then in your mind's eye, what would your life look like as you choose to move forward, to do the thing that is causing you this great anxiety? Grow anyway. What would your life look like? Think for a second. It's usually pretty good. So I would have you come back to the room and repeat this after me using your first name. I, Margaret, do hereby commit, even though I might feel the fear, to move forward into a greater expression of my divine nature anyway. Yes. And so now we're going to close this with a prayer. All of us. A prayer that we move into that beautiful sea of infinite possibilities that's always available to each and every one of us. And so take that deep breath with me. And we let that love wash over us. We let it wash away anything that is unlike the pure love of who and what we are. Each one is being divinely guided. Each one is moving forward in their lives in ways that suit them, in ways that they desire, always supported. For this one power, this infinite love, is always creating out of itself into life. And it creates with such balance, such harmony, such love. There can be nothing, there can be no chaos. There can be nothing that is fearful in the nature of God. The planets, the galaxies are all aligned and balance each other out. It is all unfolding in absolute perfection. And that is my truth, and is the truth of each and every person here. Each one's life is filled with this loving energy. It's the truth, the absolute real truth of who each and every one of us is. We are beings of light. We are beings of love. We are beautiful, beautiful, brilliant light. So I'm claiming right here, right now, that as we move forward and make decisions, that we do not let anything keep us back from moving ahead when we are called, when that intuitive nature within us is inviting us to step out into something we don't know. That's what the unknown is. So we get to know it by stepping out and expanding our very nature, being free, free to be me, free to be, and allowing all of the possibilities to just infiltrate our very experience. I give thanks for this spiritual knowing. I give thanks for this truth, which is infallible. And the truth is that there is one power for good, and we are, each and every one of us, a part of this power. I give thanks for this knowing. I give thanks for all the good that is yet to unfold in my life. I am one with the light and love of the divine. And so is each and every one here. We let it be because we know it is so, and so it is. So it is.